Hi there and welcome to another video. This is Jenna from McGuire. So I'll go ahead and warn you right up front. This is one of my longer episodes where I share lots of examples. I kind of got carried away with this stepped up die cutting technique. So I share today many ways you can get new looks from pretty much any dies you may have by stepping them up a bit, by adding dimension and shine and turning them into embellishments that become the focal point of a card. Again, I have many examples. I'm going to focus on the technique, but I'll also share with you the cards that I made. Let's get started with my first two cards. These two cards will show how you can take simple basic dies and create an embellishment from them that has lots of dimension and shine. I'll be doing these balloons. So I'm using the new Simon Says Stamp Everett number set and the alphabet set. Those are the two on the left. And also the older Simon Says Stamp balloon set. I will be creating two balloons, one that has the number 23 on it and one that has the word hi on it. I'm going to start by doing lots of die cutting. I will cut all of these pieces 3 or 4 times from colored cardstock. I'm using the Gemini die cut machine today simply because it's a great machine and I can do other things as the paper feeds through, but you can use any die cut machine you may have. I am stacking my die cuts together with Gina Connect glue. So I die cut, as I mentioned, several of the same shape, and I just glue them together for a stacked look. This gives lots of dimension and really makes a die cut stand out so much more than a one-layer die cut. I know it takes a little bit more time to stack the die cuts, but it makes a significant difference on the final card. Once I stack the H and the I, I'm gluing them onto a balloon. I will go ahead and set this aside to dry, and I'll also do the same for my 23. Now I wanted my 3 to overlap with the 2, but I have these 2 stacked dies and the 3 didn't overlap very well. So what I did is I cut the corner off of my 3, then I put one more solid 3 on top, and then glued that down, overlapping the 2. Since I cut part of it away, it overlaps nicely, and the solid 3 on top hides that. So now I have both of these balloons. I've let them dry. I did decide to stack a few balloons behind it. So I have 3 balloons stacked together, and then I actually have 4 of the number and letter die cuts on top. So these have a lot of nice dimension. I put something heavy on it while it dried, and now it's time to add shine to the 2 balloons. I'm going to do 2 different ways. On the high balloon, I'm covering it with a very thick coating of Tonic Crystal Glaze. This is a clear product that comes out of the bottle very easily. You don't have to squeeze hard. Also, I find that it doesn't clog very easily. So that's one of the reasons I really like this product. I put a very heavy coating over it. If I get any bubbles, I kind of push them away with a craft pick. And then I let it dry once I see it has a smooth finish to it. I find that if I have enough die cuts behind it to keep it strong, I don't have any buckling, I don't have any cracking, and I get a nice, smooth, solid embellishment. Now, while I set that aside to dry, I'm going to do the other balloon. On this one, I'm going to do clear embossing. So I taped a handle onto the back of it, just so I don't burn my fingers. I'm pressing over the entire balloon with VersaMark Ink, trying to get as much ink as I can on there. I'm now adding clear embossing powder, and I'll heat set that. Now this will give a very thin coat, and I don't like to stop here. I like to add many coats on this. So I let it cool for a couple minutes, pressed on some more VersaMark ink, and added some more embossing powder. You'll see this time it holds more powder. Now from now on, I don't add VersaMark in between each coat. Since there's enough of the liquid embossing on the balloon, it stays hot long enough for me to add more powder and then heat set it again. You just want to move kind of quickly. So here I'm melting this layer of embossing powder. While the balloon is still hot, I'll add another layer of clear embossing. And I ended up doing 5 layers of clear embossing. The nice thing about this technique, where I use the embossing powder, is that it's dry immediately. Once it cools, it's dried and ready to go. But it does darken the paper color that you do underneath, so you want to keep that in mind. You'll want to start with a lighter color of cardstock. But the shine is absolutely beautiful. The Tonic one that I did on the high balloon, That takes like overnight to dry. It's very thick, but it doesn't change the color of the paper underneath. So it's two different options, and you can use whichever you may have. Now, before I show you the final results, let's go ahead and create our cards. I'm using the Simon Says Stamp Jazz Dance Stencil, and I'm putting this onto a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch white note card. I'm applying some Cosmic Shimmer Sparkle Paste over this, and then I'll remove the stencil and clean it immediately, and I'll have just a subtle background of this pattern with lots of shimmer, and it doesn't take too long for that to dry. I created a few cards this way, and I'll use a couple now and a couple later in the video. Next, I'm tying a yellow string around the bottom of the balloon with a double knot so it stays put. I'll glue my balloon embellishment onto my card with a strong adhesive. I use Gina K Connect because I want to be sure that it stays put on the card. You can see how thick and shiny that embellishment is. Now next I wanted to do a trick where I forced my balloon string to kind of twirl around on the card. What I do is I put liquid adhesive on my fingers and run the string through my fingers so that it's coated in a thin bit of that liquid adhesive. I then kind of twist and twirl the string onto my card, and what happens is the string is a little sticky, so it keeps its shape and stays stuck to the card. Once I'm happy with where it is, I can cut the excess off and let it dry for a few minutes. This works really well for ribbon and kite strings. So here you can see the final card for the 23. Again, this one is coated with a few layers of clear embossing powder. This card is personalized for my oldest who just turned 23, so you can do any number or initials you want on the balloon. Now here is the high balloon. I did it in the same way. This one has the Tonic crystal glaze on it. There's a little bit less shine to this. However, I find that the color stays more true to whatever cardstock color you used underneath it. Both are great results, and I find that the Tonic crystal glaze is easier to use on some die cuts, but the clear embossing is easier on others. Okay, I wanted to show a few more examples comparing the two again, but this time adding some shine to the die cuts so that you have sparkle and shine. I used the Simon Says Stamp Big Friends dies. I created 2 layered die cuts. These again are stacked. 3 of the shadow dies and 3 of the word dies, all stacked on top of each other, so you have a lot of dimension there. You could leave it as that if you wanted to. On one of them, I'm going to put some Tonic Aqua Shimmer pen. This is a nice shimmer that will show through when we put clear on top of it. I use this pen a lot, and I made sure to put a really thick coating on. Okay, next I'm going to go ahead and put the Tonic Crystal Glaze on top of that. I'll put a thick coat just like I did on the last example and set it aside to dry overnight. Now on my other layered Friends die cut, I'm doing the clear embossing trick where I put about 5 layers of clear embossing on top, just like I did on the last balloon. I'm going to skip through all those layers, but once I have 5 layers on top and it's still hot, I'm going to add 1 layer of crystal sparkle embossing powder. So this sparkle embossing powder will give the sparkle to it. So let's compare those two again. On this example, we have where I put the shimmer pen and then the Tonic Crystal Glaze on top and let it dry. You can see it has a soft shimmer to it and a nice amount of shine with dimension. On this example, we use clear embossing powder, and then on the top we use the crystal sparkle embossing powder. So you have a similar look, so depending on what products you may have, and if you want to keep the color of cardstock true to color underneath, you can choose between the two options. Now for these cards, I kept them very simple. I used this new Simon Says Stamp Hibiscus frame die. I die cut a few pieces of cardstock and stacked them together with liquid adhesive and put them on card bases. I then added the Friends die cuts that we created and a sentiment strip that says Thinking of You from this older Simon Says Stamp Simple Sentiments 1 stamp set. Now that I've shown you 2 different ways to create dimensional die cuts by stacking the die cuts and covering them with different clear coatings, let's step it up a bit. On this example, I'm doing the same thing, but I'm going to use a multicolored die cut. This is a great way to use up scraps. So I'm using the new Simon Says Stamp Dude die set for this card. I love this die set. I also have 3 colors of cardstock. These are just scraps that I've cut into strips. Just make sure that each color strip is the same width. I'm laying the strips down up right against each other as close as I can, and then putting a piece of Scotch tape on the back. Basically, I'm creating my own pattern paper here. And I'll do 3 pieces this way. This is a great way to use up any scraps you may have. I'm placing my dude die right across the stripes, running it through my die cut machine, and there you can see the beautiful multicolored die cut. Now I want to die cut another in the same way so the stripes are in the same position. Here's the trick I do. I take that negative space and I cut a little slit. I line it up right with the next piece of pattern paper I created so the stripes line up. I go ahead and I put the dude die right in place, right into the negative spot. It fits in like a puzzle. Then that slit allows me to remove the negative space, and my die is positioned where it needs to be, and I can tape it there and run that through the die cut machine. I ended up with 4 or 5 die cuts, all cut exactly the same with the same stripe effect. I'm gluing those all together. And then I have a layered die cut that's striped all the way through, and it looks so cool from the top and the sides. I also cut the dude shadow die from black cardstock, and I stacked 3 of those together and then glued the striped dude on top. So we have a great, really thick embellishment here that will stand out on a simple card. I then covered it with the quick layer of Tonic Crystal Glaze. This time I did it a little thinner. For the card, I'm using the Simon Says Stamp Center Cut Geometric Pattern Stamp. I like these background stamps because you can use the center, the outside, or them together. I just used the outside, and I stamped it with VersaMark ink onto a black piece of cardstock and added clear embossing powder. There's something really cool about clear embossing on a black piece of cardstock. It gives such gorgeous shine. I added that to a white note card. Then I have a white die cut circle and my stacked dude embellishment covered with Tonic Crystal Glaze, which I let dry overnight. I also added a few really shiny star sequins. These are from Tonic, and they give a wonderful shine. It captures the light beautifully. I also used a You the Best sentiment, which I thought was fun to use with dude, and this is from the older Simon Says stamp set that you see here to the right. So you can see how you can create a multicolored embellishment just by using up scraps, and you add all those layers behind it and add shine on top to really make it stand out. Okay, next I wanted to just quickly show you a few more examples with the same technique of creating those multicolored die cuts and stacking them up for dimension. But this time I'm using lots of colors and creating a rainbow. So I went through some cardstock that I had left over, and I just quickly trimmed down a bunch of strips. So I have lots of them. I've done techniques like this in the past, and I'll link them here so you can check out another video. But today I am taking 2 pieces of Scotch tape and turning them upside down so the sticky side is facing up. I'm then going to tape together a rainbow of stripes, of cardstock strips, all as close as possible to the one before it. Again, I'm basically creating my own pattern paper. Once I have lots of strips together, I'm going to flip this over and cover that entire back side with more Scotch tape. I find that if I cover it all with Scotch tape, then I end up having better results when I die cut it. It doesn't come apart. And the dies cut through that Scotch tape layer with no problem. So I'm going to die cut a bunch from this one piece. This is the Simon Says Stamp Good Vibes die. Again, it comes with the words and the shadow for the words. I'm just cutting the words here. I'm also cutting that friend die that I used earlier. I also have the Hibiscus frame that I showed you earlier in this video, and I'll cut that. I actually don't make a card with that today. I ran out of time, but I'll make a card in the future. And then I also die cut the word hugs and an exclamation mark. So I'm running this through my Gemini Junior, but you could use any die cut machine you may have. And again, any die cut machine should cut through that cardstock and that thin layer of Scotch tape. So now I have lots of rainbow die cuts that use up lots of scraps. You could even use pattern paper if you wanted to. Let's do the Good Vibes example first. For this one, I am stacking up the shadow die cuts. These are 3 black shadow die cuts. Then for the words itself, remember on the last example, I die cut dude in that striped piece. I cut 4 that were striped. This time I only cut 1 rainbow stripe, but I stacked 3 black die cuts behind it. So only the top layer is striped. So you could do fun, cool effects on the top layer and just stack basic color die cuts behind it. And you still get the dimension. So there you can see that final die cut. And again, I covered it with the Tonic Crystal Glaze. I find this is faster than the clear embossing, but it does take time to dry. But I knew I was going to be coming back to this the next day anyways. So here's what it looks like after it dries. You have this huge embellishment in the center, and that's all you really need on this card. The note card does have that shimmer paste that I did with the stencil, just like I did on the balloon cards earlier in this video. And you can see that's a nice strong embellishment that I created there. Now with the Rainbow Friends die cut, I did the same thing. I stacked several on top of black die cut, so it's nice and thick. But this time I put 5 layers of clear embossing powder on top. So you can see the colors of cardstock got darker, significantly darker with the clear embossing. But I still like the results and kept it on a very simple card. I added a Simon Says Stamp Debra die cut, that's the die over there on the right. I just die cut it from white and put it on a white note card, then added our friend embellishment on top, along with a Thinking of You sentiment strip. Okay, for the Hugs die cuts, I used a third product to add shine. Let's first create the card, then we'll add the product. For the card, I used a white note card, and I used the Simon Says Stamp Debra die to cut 3 white die cuts, and I stacked those together and glued them on the card, and I love that background. I then added my stacked Hugs die cuts. So the rainbow is on top, and I have 3 white Hugs die cuts underneath. This time I'm putting Glossy Accents on top. I'll be honest, I really like the shine and like the jelly bean kind of look that you get from the Ranger Glossy Accents. You do need to squeeze a little bit more and be careful not to let it clog, but the results are wonderful. So if you have Glossy Accents, you can definitely use it for this technique. You still get that beautiful shine and it dries nicely, so it'll mail nicely too. Now that sentiment strip that says this card is full of is from this Simon Says Stamp Big Thanks word stamp set, which I've used many times in videos. I have one more rainbow die cut example for you. This is my favorite of the rainbow die cuts. So for this one, I created my own pattern paper again, using some cardstock strips and taping them together completely. I cut that in half so I can save the leftover, and I used that Debra die. And I'm going to cut right into that rainbow pattern paper that I created. So I'm running this through my die cut machine, and again, it should cut through that Scotch tape without any problem. So there you can see the delicate die cut, and it has that beautiful rainbow look to it. So after I removed all the little bits and pieces on the inside, I also die cut the Debra die from 3 pieces of white cardstock. So you see the 3 white die cuts here. And I'm going to glue those together, stacking them up, and then put the rainbow die cut on top. So I take that thin rainbow die cut and give it dimension. And then I covered it with 3 layers of clear embossing powder. So you see that shine and that rounded dimension on it? That's because I put 3 layers of embossing powder on top, just like I showed you in the earlier example. I added it to a white cardstock strip and a black note card. Then I layered a white and black friend die cut in the center, and then stamped You Are Magic from the same simple sentiment stamp set that I used earlier. In this case, it was much faster to add a few layers of clear embossing than trying to get that Tonic crystal glaze on all the details of that die cut. Okay, now for my last card. This die cut embellishment is really cool. Let's first start with the background. I used the Simon Says Stamp Beachy Wave stamp. I'm stamping it with a pool ink on pool cardstock. I'm using my Misty stamping tool just to make sure that I get good results. After I've stamped this, I trimmed it down and added it to a white note card, which I end up making it smaller a little bit later on. I also die cut 3 yellow circles and glued them together, and added it to a white die cut circle that's a little bit bigger. I die cut the Simon Says Stamp Miss You block die. You can see it at the top of the screen. I die cut it from three pieces of yellow cardstock and glued those together. And then one piece of gold glitter cardstock, and I glued that on top. So it's a gold glitter die cut with dimension behind it. And I glued that all onto the yellow stacked circle. I decided to trim my note card down a bit, so my card is a little smaller now. Gluing the circle on that, and then I'm covering this with Glossy Accents, just to give you another glossy accent example. And I'm putting a very heavy coating on this, just squeezing it all over that yellow circle, all over that glitter die cut. And when this dries, you get the coolest looking embellishment because the Glossy Accents kind of slopes down the edge of the glittered cardstock. It looks so cool. So I'll definitely be doing this in the future, stacking die cuts together, using specialty papers such as glitter cardstock, and lots of thick shine on top. I also added a few gold embellishments and kept it very simple. So there you have it, fun ways to step up your die cutting by adding dimension and shine to create really cool embellishments. If you're interested in the supplies, I link them below in the YouTube description. In the middle here are a couple other videos you might like. Appreciate you stopping by. Have a great day, and we'll see you again soon.